In 2022, Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett recorded a stunning version of the Cole Porter classic Love for Sale. The song's lyrics immediately drew the ire of the moral guardians. Using this song as an example, along with historical, biographical, and semantic aspects that make it far more complex than one might assume, we'll explore what was lost in the process and what might be lost again today. In fact, after its creation in 1930, radio stations refused to play Love for Sale for decades. Typical American prudishness likely played a major role in this. After World War II, rock and pop enriched the literary complexity and depth of song lyrics in the US as well. Today, however, there seems to be a great danger once again that increasing poetic incompetence will impoverish the discourse, that music will no longer be able to fulfill its horizon-expanding role and will degenerate into a mere wellness and vanity project. Lyrics as seemingly frivolous as Love for Sale are once again being banned today due to bigoted ignorance. The song is a number from the musical The New Yorkers, which Cole Porter wrote during the Prohibition era in the U.S., which lasted from 1920 to 1933. It satirizes New York life during that time. At the center is the wealthy, somewhat naive society lady Alice Wentworth, who falls in love with the charming nightclub owner and bootlegger Al Spanish. The two embark on a romance filled with wild adventures, including an escape from the police through underground tunnels and visits to illegal speakeasies. Supported by comical supporting characters like Jimmy Deegan and his cronies, who, among other things, invent a new drink, commit a murder, and ultimately organize Alice and Ale's wedding, the play celebrates alcohol, money, sex, and the crazy New York nightlife with unrestrained irony. The song Love for Sale is written from the perspective of a prostitute offering various kinds of love for sale: old love, new love, every love but true love, and became a hit. However, its explicit lyrics, which superficially romanticize prostitution, were later deemed too lewd and shunned by radio stations for decades. That didn't stop countless excellent musicians from covering it. Among them are Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Miles Davis and Cannonball Adderley, Chet Baker, Aretha Franklin, Hildegard Knef, Dave Brubeck, Jamie Cullum, Elvis Costello, and Simply Red. It's fascinating to compare the versions. Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett frivolously indulge in the hedonistic promise, while instrumentalists like Miles Davis focus on the sophisticated structure and harmonies of the standard. Earlier singers let the complexity and social abysses of paid love shine through. The bisexual Libby Holman, considered a femme fatale in her day, had an on-again, off-again relationship with Montgomery Clift, and her role in the death of her husband Zachary Smith Reynolds was never clarified, leading to a significant career setback. It's almost impossible to listen to her version of Love for Sale without hearing the full complexity of her biography. Billie Holiday's version, with Oscar Peterson on piano, is also powerful. The singer, who was raped as a child and later worked in a brothel, presumably as a prostitute herself, sings with such authenticity that one hears her life experiences as well. The same applies to Ella Fitzgerald, who was abused by her stepfather and worked as a guard at a brothel after her mother's death. In the reform school where she was sent, she was presumably beaten and abused. Commercial sex is an emotional, contradictory social reality that truly crystallizes the relationship between the sexes with its aspects of power, violence, and desire. It is therefore a rewarding motif for musical interpretation. And Cole Porter had the means to do so. The gay scion of a wealthy family studied law at Yale and Harvard and music in Paris at the Scola Cantorum, a private music conservatory under the direction of the legendary composer Vico Didi. In other words, Cole was thoroughly familiar with the subtleties of European art music. The complexity of the theme is particularly evident in the fluctuating alternation between major and minor keys, a technique Schubert and Schumann had already used to blur structural boundaries, Schumann, for example, in the song Im wunderschönen Monat Mai from the cycle Dichterliebe.
Siehst in meinem Herzen die Liebe aufgegangen.
Love for Sale employs the same stylistic device. Analysts have also pointed out, however, that the song would fit perfectly into the structure of a habanera, reminiscent of, for example, the intermezzo from Lalo's Symphonie Espagnole. It evokes the musical atmosphere that Porter likely absorbed during his stay in France. The melodic gesture, with its descending motif, corresponds to the Porter song. The habanera rhythm has made its way from Spain and Cuba all the way to Argentina, finding its way into the milongas and the tango nuevo. There too, its origins can be traced back to the brothels. This might tempt one to fit it into the accompaniment pattern of Lalo's intermezzo. The same gesture, with the same erotic associations as Love for Sale, also characterizes an even more famous work, the habanera from Bizet's opera Carmen. The Porter song can also be organically integrated into its structure. There is an important logical distinction in philosophy, the use and mention of assertions. And there are stylistic devices such as irony, euphemism, imitation, and so on, which allow for great diversity and a play on allusions, implicit evaluations, and implicit criticism. Precisely when considering physical love in all its complexity, contradictions, and individual and social consequences, this complex and also unsettling play of meanings comes into its own. And often, as in the case of the duet by Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett, no clear statements can be made about the intentions and the intended messages. When works of erotic art are censored, such as Gustave Courbet's painting L'Origine du Mode, it is not only the discourse on art that is impoverished. Society as a whole then risks being overrun by the very oppressive and destructive mechanisms that censorship seeks to prevent. People will then lose touch with themselves. Political discussions can also become impoverished when historical awareness is in danger of being lost. In this video, we show how a younger, highly creative generation deals with symbols of the political past, and what might be problematic about that. Check it out and subscribe to our channel. The best is yet to come. And feel free to leave a comment below about what you think of purging older cultural works of content that is now considered problematic.